Join me as I show you how to take Figma to the next level with some masking super secret, super tips. That's right, you heard it from me first. Super secret, super tips. Come on, let's get going. Hey there, it's your boy Ike with Create or Die. I've got a quick little tutorial for you here in Figma. If you don't know, it's all the rage. All the kids are using it. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite design-related applications. Super powerful. Now, one thing that was a little tricky for me to learn when I first started using Figma was how to mask a person or an image in general. Now, there are different ways to mask images. There are different ways to dress it up and make it more exciting. And we're going to go through a few of those. And I'm sure there are other ways. Now you can see here on the left, we've got our image with a white background. And then the two images on the right, the background has been removed. Now I checked it out. And as far as like a quick AI remove background tool in Figma, natively, that doesn't exist. You can purchase a plugin to do that, and it functions similar to Photoshop. And if you're into buying a plugin, then go for it. And that's a quick way to remove the background, at least. But we're going to take it a little further. Now, these two images on the right here, same image, but I used Photoshop because I have Photoshop to remove the background. And it's fairly quick. You know, this has a couple of areas that were a little tricky because the phone is white, has trouble with that area. So you have to go in and rebuild it. And then maybe with as fine as the hair is over here, it's a little tricky to get it just right, but I'm happy with these results. So now I know this wasn't supposed to be a Photoshop tutorial, so I'm not going to spend much time, but if we jump on over to Photoshop, you can see here's the clipped out image. And if I back it up a little bit, here's the image before being clipped out, and I'll even put a color behind there so we can see what's going on. But when I select the image, it's as easy as going in your Properties tab here on the right, and you can do it either way, remove background or select subject and then mask it, either way. But I will just click remove background. It'll think for a minute, and then as you can see, did a pretty good job indeed. Again, there's this issue, took a bite out of the phone, we're missing a couple pieces, and essentially you can just grab a selection tool and select those areas that you want, which I did a horrible job, but just for demonstration purposes, and then select your mask over here on the layers tab. Make sure you have a black, well actually we want white because we're revealing it. Hit G for fill, click that a couple times, and then Command D to unselect that, and you can see we've brought back the phone. And then there's some issues with, we can see some white on the edges of the hair there, and you can go into select and mask, and the best way to take care of that is this decontaminate colors option. Check that box, and then default does a pretty good job, but you can play with the slider to fix that. Dial it in where you want. And then, as you can see, it looks like there's an area over here that it took a chunk out of the hair that I didn't want. Again, just like the phone, you can paint that mask in to get it how you want it. But again, here's essentially what I ended up with. It was going on a white background, so I didn't even do the decontaminate colors. Here it is. Here's the final one where I fixed the phone, I fixed the hair. Things were looking pretty good. And then I just copied and pasted that into Figma. So now that we're back in Figma, how do we mask this? I mean, we've got a sharp edge at the bottom. Maybe we're doing some type of layout where we want her coming out of a circle, for example. How would one accomplish that? Well, that's why we're here. So just to give us some breathing room around here, I'm going to scale the image of her down a little bit and then hit O for oval or circle. I mean, O, yeah, is oval, but if you hold down shift, it'll draw circles, right? So just go ahead and draw out a circle. That white, off-white, grayish color is a little hard to see, so let's pick a different color. Something nice. There you go, a burnt orange. Okay, so already that's looking cool. You can see that's why we clipped her out of her background, so we can do stuff like this. And this is a great way to help up-level stock photography, is by integrating graphic elements. You'll see that done all the time. Okay, but she's sure her head, her phone is poking out of the circle, which is what we want, but then we want to chop off the bottom half of her, cut it where the circle is. So we can go ahead and select the circle and her, hit Command G to put it in a group. We've got a group over here. Let's name it Girl 2. And okay, so we've got the circle below the image. Let's go ahead and duplicate that circle or ellipse, and the middle one, or the top ellipse, let's select that, right click and select use as mask. And then that way we can still see the orange circle behind there, because if we would have not duplicated it, it would have just used it as a mask and we can't see the circle behind it. And the reason I had the ellipse behind it is we didn't want that to be masked, because to mask something in Figma, it needs to be in a group to contain it. Otherwise it's going to mask everything above it, above the mask layer, and the group kind of stops it. So since we have ellipse 1 under the mask ellipse 2, and we'll just do our due diligence and call that mask, name the image to Girl 2, background, circle, whatever. It's always good to name your layers, right? So there we go. But it just masked the circle, right? So what are we going to do? We didn't get the piece of the phone that we wanted and whatever. So option 1 is we could select this mask layer, and let's lock the background circle just so we don't accidentally click on that, since they're right over top of each other. But yeah, so we've selected this mask layer, and let's go into point or edit mode, clicking this little edit object at the top. Then we get these control points, so we can take this one and drag it straight up. There we go, there's her head, and we could drag this one out, and that's pretty simple. You can see maybe that messes up the bottom of her shirt, and that may not be noticeable, but so if you want to be more exact, let's Command Z that, and let's add an extra point. So if we hit P for the pen tool, then we can see there's a point being added. Click on that, hit enter, go back into edit mode, grab that new point that was created and move that over. And that keeps this point locked in so that it doesn't affect that bottom. So if we unselect the mask mode, look at that, super nice, so fine. It's all nice and masked. So that's one way to do it. And there are a ton of things that we can do with that now that it's been masked. You know, we can throw in something in between, a shape in between the girl and the mask layers. So just throw in a triangle. So polygon, drag that in, hold down shift to keep it equilateral, and it just plopped it in there way behind everything. So I'm going to drag it up in between the mask and the girl, and there we go. Let's give that a different color. We'll start with the orange and drag our slider around, just keeping things in the same family. Okay, there's a nice contemporary teal color, and you can see I can pull that behind her. We can bring it out on the other side, you know, do a lot with it. Rotate it if we want. You know, again, if it breaks out of our mask area, then we'll have to adjust our mask to fix it. Went ahead and duplicated that so we can have another green triangle floating around. Duplicate it again, because whenever you do elements like this, it's best to do them in odd numbers, right? 3, 5, 7, not 1. I mean, you could, but 3, 5, 7 is my rule, if you will. And then just trying to find an organic place to place this, and not over the moon about that concept or that layout, that lockup, but whatever, you get the idea. There's flexibility there, right? Okay, so that's option 1. And because it's a group, we can slide it around and do what we want with it. You can, some bonus material here, you can add effects. You know, we've got the drop shadow. It's taking into account the entire group and not just one piece of it. So there you go. You can see the white around her head is being highlighted. So, you know, could have done a better job there. Anyways, so that's a great way to do it, and that'll get you there 90% of the time. Okay, so that's using a single mask to mask everything above it inside of a group. Okay, so this next one, we're going to get a little crazy. So bear with me here. Let's do a different shape. Okay, we've got triangle. Let's go ahead and do a triangle shape, shall we? And we're gonna rotate that bad boy. Okay, this is a popular kind of dynamic look that you might see. Okay, and we can adjust this later, but I just want to make sure that the tip of it doesn't go below her, right? Otherwise, we'd have to do some other craziness to make that work. So let's pick a different color. Let's go with that green color again in the background. And just like before, we're going to select those two, group them together. So we've got a group. We're going to call this group Girl 3. And this polygon, same thing. So you may be thinking, what's the difference? Let's find out, shall we? Okay, we're going to right click on that, use as a mask. We've got that same problem as before. All right. But instead of moving points around, we're going to do something a little different. So let's go ahead and check use as mask to change that and put that into a group itself. So this whole group is going to be a masking group. And right click on that, use as mask. So it does the same thing, except for now we have the power of the group. So we can add multiple shapes in here to do our masking for us. So let's say up here at the top we want an oval. Again, it put it in the wrong spot. I'm not paying attention. Boom. She's got an oval. We've taken care of her head. Bingo. Okay. Let's use a rectangle And select the mask and then draw, and it'll put the rectangle. No, it won't put the rectangle in the right spot. Never mind. Okay. Cool. And we can play with moving this around to get a feel for what would need to be in the triangle and what wouldn't. I picked a tricky scenario here where that front hand works out good, but this backhand doesn't really resolve in a good way. So we can get fancy here, and going into point mode, I'm gonna grab this point here. I was in point mode. Select a point. What? Come on now. Move the point. Okay. And you could clip out most of that backhand if you want, or just do something like this. Hold down Command to drag out Bezier control handles if you like. This may not be the best example, but we're going with it, whether you like it or not. Another option would be to move her image back to a place where it can resolve a little better there, which is probably recommended, but we've got that flexibility, right? We can move our oval around to keep her head in view, stretch it, whatever we do to these shapes within that mask folder, we're good. We're golden. See? And now that hand comes out and everything is golden. Right, we could even bump it over a little bit more, but we're not going to. Okay. So there we go. We've got a mask in a folder that's doing the mask magic. All right. So that could be it. That may get you where you want to go, and that's cool. And probably will 99% of the time. But let's say we want to do something else. We want to stack them masks. Stack them. Okay. Is that impossible? Well, let's find out. First off, I'm going to take this background polygon triangle and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm holding down Option and then dragging it. Okay. And then I'm going to scale that up. Hold Shift Option. Okay. So now we've got what's going to be a triangle behind a triangle. Let's give it a different color. Maybe the orange, maybe the... Yeah, let's do like a dark gray, black type thing. Falling off the canvas here, the frame. Okay, so that's cool in and of itself, right? But I promised some mask stacking. So what do we want to do here? Okay, let's we got our mask folder is open, and I was clicking on this triangle thinking that that was the folder, but it's obviously not. Okay, and we got this image here, and let's say we want to fade her bottom half, so we'll see a little green behind there. Okay, now we don't have a big airbrush eraser that we can use to do that, which is, you know, maybe how you might do it in Photoshop. But here, what I'm going to do is create yet another mask. Okay, so I'm going to grab this image, hit Command G, it's in a folder in and of itself. Okay, because that's I have this new mask. I just want it to affect that. I'm going to draw out a rectangle. Okay. Right there. I'm going to drag it up into that folder. Right now it's above the image. Drag the image above. Okay. So we've got... Actually, I'm going to keep it above for a minute so we can see what's going on. So we've got this off-white, gray, light gray rectangle, right? Let's change that to a linear gradient, and we're going to flip that thing right upside down, or no, we want to keep it this way because we want the bottom part to be more transparent, right? So right now I select this, it's got a transparency of 0. Okay, just to keep things clean, I'm going to make that white, transparency of 0. Grab this one, drag it to white, transparency of 0. And now that I'm thinking about this, we probably want to make the rectangle cover the entire image. So, and we'll just have to adjust things here in a moment. Okay, and then we're back to linear. We get these little controls, drag it down, because basically we want the bottom to be transparent and for it to fade up into fully opaque. Okay, let's drag the image above that, right click on that rectangle, and use it as a mask. Look at that, my friends. We've got a faded gradient mask action happening on top of this crazy triangle mask, other craziness going on. Wow. And in between these two masks, just like in the other one, if we so desire, we can add some additional elements. I'm gonna drag that above the mask. Oh, it's getting crazy. So, oh, yeah. Our mask only goes so high, so, well, that's okay. It's a good example of how we would fix something like this. We can just duplicate that oval, that ellipse, drag it on over. Now we taken care of, yo. Let's give that a different color. Don't know this is my favorite palette in the world, but hey, that's what we're gonna go with. Look at that. What did I say before? Keep it in 3s. Or odds. You're odd, right? So that's what you're thinking. Yes, I am. And again, gotta fix that mask. We're gonna duplicate that, and boom. There we go. How do we do it? All starting from a clipped out image. We have 2 girl masks. Now you might say, okay, this is great, but what if I've spent all my money on Figma? It's free, but I decided to pay the $30 a month or whatever to just use Figma. I don't have any other money. I don't have Photoshop. I don't want to pay for a freaking plugin. How would I go about manually masking out this girl from this background? Okay, well, you can use shapes and build it up and just move points around to get it tightly around her. You're not going to get it as nice as these. That's just how it is. I'm going to get rid of this drop shadow. But you can probably get it to a place that's decent. So what I would do is grab your pen tool and then just start dragging it, clicking, dragging. Hold down Option to kind of change direction and you just make your way around the image slowly but surely. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I just want to give you a little taste of what this might be for looking like. Again, we're changing direction. We're clipping out this little piece of hair, and this is where it really gets not awesome. Is around fine hair like that. So knowing that that's just not going to work, I'm going to go ahead and just pretend like she doesn't have little wispies off to the side. Just chop it off. A little premature. Okay. But yeah, we're just going to grab a different area here. Okay, shoulders, that's enough. And then we're going to come around and build in a little rounded shape at the bottom. We're making our way back up. And this is a good way you could build these up. You could do the half part of this girl, you know, her head and shoulders, and then create a new layer and use the pen tool to draw around the bottom half. Okay. And now that I've, using shortcuts from Photoshop. Then we grab our direct selection tool and kind of fix things, because as you're drawing out the mask, you may kind of waver a little bit. And let me know, has this been helpful? Do you want more Figma tutorials from a guy who knows a thing or two about it, but certainly is still learning? Hey, I'm just sharing what I'm learning one step at a time, right? You want to go get yourself a Figma expert? You go right ahead. If you want to get someone who can show you a thing or two and is in there with you learning, then I'm your guy. Okay, so we've got this. It's a stroke currently. I'm going to add a fill. I'm going to delete the stroke. Doesn't matter what color it is per se. I'm going to select the shape and the image. Command G. It's in a group. I'm going to grab the image, drag it up, right click on the vector, use as mask. There you go. So without using Photoshop, that would be the process. It's a lot more time consuming, but it is possible. And you can see we've still got some white showing through, so get in there and edit your mask further. If it was over white, for the most part, it wouldn't matter. So anyways, I hope that's helped. Until next time, keep on creating. Create or die.